Hello, and welcome to this video on control flow. In Python there are two main types of control flow statements: conditional statements and looping statements. Additionally, we can also use functions for control flow. So what exactly is a control flow? It's a concept in programming that allows us to make decisions and execute code based on the value of variables or expressions. Let's look at our sample greetings program from Basics of Programming video. We'll be iterating and expanding on ideas and concepts introduced in that video, and would recommend you watch that video if you haven't. Link is in the info card and description. In our greetings app, we have a name variable, to which a user-provided value gets assigned. Using the assignment operator, =$, and the input function. Then we have age, similar to name variable. We get the value from user. Then 3 print statements. In the first print statement, we are passing 2 arguments: literal string hello with comma, and the name variable. Second print statement is for informing the user about current state of the program. Then we have the age comparison expression passed into print function as argument. We know that in Python program, code get executed top to bottom, line by line, and the last line of our program needs to be improved. This program has become more than just a greeting. So let's extract the code and save it as new program. Assuming that we are creating a registration page, where users can create a user account via the app or web. The last line basically prints the result of age comparison, but we should be printing different messages depending on the comparison result. That's where the conditional if statements come in. We type the if keyword, then the comparison expression, any expression that would result in a true or false, then a colon, and in line below that we can type another statement. In our case we have a print function. Please note the tab space before the print statement. This is important, as tab space is used to group the statements together. If you're wondering why we changed the minimum age to 13, it's because of the COPPA rule, Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. Let's add another if condition, to check for false, the deny rule. First if statement checks for true, more of an allow rule. And this is more in line with COPPA, which basically states, when websites or online services collect information of children of age below 13, should get consent from parents. Let's try running our program now. Looks like we have a bit of a problem. Unterminated string literal, and in parentheses it says, detected at line 8. Apparently we have forgotten to type the closing quote in our print statement. Let's add that and run it again. As you can see, the message getting printed depends on the value of age. When the age value is above 13, we get continue message. Otherwise we get the consent message. Now if we recall, Python executes programs step by step. So both of our if statement will get executed. But which print function gets called would depend on the value of age. At times you may need to have 2 separate if statements. But not in this situation. There should be a better way to do it. And we can, by adding the ELIF statement, which sort of extends if statement's block of code. ELIF is shorthand for else if, and gets executed only when the expression inside the if statement is false. Let's run the program and see how it works. There won't be any noticeable change, as we basically improve the readability of our code. So even if we test both cases, that is age being above 13 or below 13, we get the intended result. In our age comparison, we only have 2 possible values. Either the age is 13 or above, or it's below 13. We don't technically need the second age comparison. Let's remove the comparison expression from the ELIF statement. And now if we run the program, we get an invalid syntax error. We cannot use ELIF without an expression that results in true or false. And for that we need to use else statement instead of ELIF. It's more of a fall through. When none of the condition is true, we can use the else statement to execute certain code. Similar to ELIF, we will not see any visible changes when we run our program. Let's still give it a go. Since we have only changed the code from ELIF to else, we just need to test that logic. Up until now we have taken it for granted that we will always get the right response for age. What if we get a negative number for age? Let's give that a try. As you can see, program still works, even though it's not logically correct. In a real world, age cannot be denoted with a negative number like -5. Let's add another if statement, to check that age is always a positive number above 0. We could check using the expression age less than 0. But what we want is age being greater than 0. Additionally, we also need a way to repeatedly check the user input for age. If statement will only check once. We need to make sure that our program insists on getting a positive number for age. And that is done by using a while loop. While loop allows us to execute a block of code, as long as a certain condition is true. In our example here, we are setting the condition to be always true. This is dangerous. While loop have a tendency to become an infinite loop, running a block of code repeatedly without an end. So we have to be careful with the OR logic. And here we are intentionally setting it up as infinite loop, as the condition is always true. Always remember that code block comes into play whenever there is an element of control flow. We saw that with if statement, and here now with the while loop. The control that defines the block will end with a colon, and the lines of code that belong to that block will have tab indentation. That's why we move the if condition to be inside the while loop. The goal is to repeatedly ask for age value, till we get a positive value higher than 0. So let's add another variable assignment for age inside the while loop. This time we are combining the type conversion into an integer and input function into a single statement, and this is called nested function call. For now, let's leave the age variable before the if statement. This is sort of a duplication. We are not doing anything with the age variable that we have before the while loop. And right inside the while loop, we are asking for age again. We can improve the code once we have the logic working. So let's see what will happen once we have the value for age. The if statement will get executed, and condition will be false when the value is less than 0. And if we get the value higher than 0, we need a way to stop the while loop. And for that we can use the break keyword, which will break our program out of the infinite while loop that we have. Let's run the program and test it out. The program will keep asking for age, till the user provides a value higher than 0. There are a lot of ways we can improve the design, and look into corner cases. But before that, let's tidy up a little by adding a space after input prompt for name and age. Additionally, let's combine the lines 2 and 3, similar to what we have inside while loop, the variable assignment and type conversion of age variable. Also, let's get rid of that empty print statement at the end of our program. Considerably, we should be greeting the user after we have verified the minimum age. So let's rearrange those print statements as well. Let's rearrange the windows and run our program again. Seems like we have missed the space for input prompt inside the while loop. One final run, and we are all set. Now let's look into refining our while loop. We know that while loop helps us run a block of code, as long as a condition is true. We already have a way to check for condition within the while loop statement. So technically we don't need that if statement. Let's replace the literal true within the while loop statement with the comparison expression of if statement, age greater than 0. Let's see what happens when we run the program now and test it with -5 for age. Seems like the loop is not working. Let's run it again. This time we'll test it with the positive numbers. And we have the loop working now. We can press Ctrl+C to stop the program. So basically, the loop got reversed. We need an expression that will be true in order for while loop to execute. When we gave -5, the while loop condition was false, so it didn't run. -5 is not greater than 0. And when we tested it with proper age, the loop condition was true. 5, 6, etc. are greater than 0. So in order to get our program working properly, we need to change the comparison from greater than to less than. Let's test it again now. And the program seems to be working as intended. Even though we were able to get the same result, with less lines of code, we still have an infinite loop, which is not a good practice. We need to add another condition, so that we restrict how many times the loop gets run. Let's add number of attempts. This will basically control the while loop. For now, let's set it to 5. So users will have to provide age value higher than 0. And they have 5 chances. If they don't provide a proper value in 5 attempt, program will exit. Let's update the while loop statement with the number of attempt variable. We also need to bring back the if condition, so that we can break out of loop when we have the right age value. Since we have made few changes, let's test our program. We'll test it with few negative values, and then provide a proper age. Everything seems to be working fine. Let's test it again, by providing a proper age value from the very start itself. As you can see, we are getting the input prompt twice. We need to reorder the statements inside the while loop. Let's move the age assignment within while loop, all the way below the block of code for if statement. If we run our program now, it will work the way we had thought of. We won't get the duplicate input prompt for age. Now we need to test number of attempts. Seems like we still have an infinite loop. Well, we haven't done anything with the condition for while loop. It's always true. We need to reduce the value of number of attempt every time we run through a loop. Let's add that logic inside while loop. Below the age variable, we subtract 1 from number of attempts, and then assign it back. Our program seems to be working fine when we provide a proper value for age. Now if we test number of attempts, while loop does end after 5 iteration, but rest of the program is also being executed. Let's move all the code to be inside while loop, and outside while loop, add another print statement to inform the user to start over when no more attempts are left. If we run the program now, you will realize that we may have created more problems. Age validation and the related messages are getting printed with every iteration of while loop. What we want is while loop to control attempts. Inside while loop, we check for proper value of age. And if we get a proper value, then we check for minimum age and print rest of the messages. Let's move age validation and the print messages inside the if statement, where we check for age value greater than 0. Make sure you have properly indented the statements. Otherwise program won't run. Seems like we need to add a condition for that final print statement. We need to print that statement only when number of attempts is 0. Let's add that condition. Always remember single equal sign is for assignment. And whenever you need comparison, you have to use double equal sign. And finally, we have our program running as intended. And yet we still have room and opportunity for improvements. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. We appreciate your support. Thanks again for watching.